Well, it's Wednesday, excuse me, and it's Zach's birthday. Go ahead, wish him happy birthday. Everybody gather around, sing happy birthday to Zach. Happy birthday, Zach.
It's like an incredibly interesting social phenomena.
No, please share.
That fathers, and I guess mothers can do it as well. They can embarrass their kids in any context at any time. Like, I remember when I was younger, we'd be grocery shopping.
Yeah.
It'd be the rare occasion that we were grocery shopping, you and me, not with mom.
Yeah.
And you just, like, dance.
Yeah.
Just, like, for no apparent reason.
No, there was a reason. It was to embarrass the shit out of you. Yeah.
It's like, push Zach out. It's like, you're big to be embarrassed.
Yeah. So it's his birthday. So
let's talk about cars.
So let's talk about cars. Send them some money. What the hell? Send them some money. It's his birthday.
No, please don't send me money.
Okay.
All right, let's talk about cars. We've got some interesting articles that we were able to find that are talking about the different inventory sources for used cars, and in particular, the expectation for repossessions and what's going to happen there. So I thought we'd we've got an update on the Manheim used car index, which you can talk about in a second here. Then we've got expectations for forbearance programs coming to an end, and maybe you could even speak more to like government-oriented programs that like they are going to come to an end, expectations for repossessions, all this stuff, and then what impacts that might have on the used car market.
Okay. God, you make it sound like we're experts. It's a good thing we can read. Because it says here, right here, it says wholesale vehicle prices start July.
There it is. That's the video.
On another record pace. Thank you, Zach, for.
Well, I'm just saying that's the video right there.
Yeah, this is it. It's all based on this. This is all based on the Manheim Market Report and their used car price index, used vehicle value index. I want to get it correct. And at the end of June, that index finished at its highest level in history. In the history that they've been keeping this report. And so far through the first half of July, it's up substantially again. And right now, the index had been, at the end of June, it had been 149.3, which means nothing to me. But I will tell you, it's up 6.6 points in the first 2 weeks of July to 155.9, which would, be another record. And it's just crazy what's happening to the value of used cars, wholesale values.
All right. Take a step back. Why do you, I think you're being facetious that it means nothing to you, but this...
It does. It means nothing to me.
Really? So this measurement is meaningless?
This index, it means nothing to me. What means something to me is the value of the used cars in relation to the Manheim Market Report. That means more to me than anything. And
so maybe you have to explain, because what's the difference between... so what is this number that you just read out then?
It's their criteria for keeping track of used car values over an extended period of time. Okay. So I guess they started with the index at 100% at whenever they started it, and it keeps going up. Well, everything in life goes eventually everything doesn't always go up, but most of the time everything in life goes up. But the important number is not that index value goes up. The important number is the Manheim Market Report is a weekly compilation of what the values are that dealers are paying in respect to what 100% of Manheim Market would be. And typically, when dealers are buying cars at wholesale, they're trying to be somewhere between 95 and 98% of its real wholesale value, which we use 100% as the wholesale value.
Okay.
Right now, in relation to Manheim Market Report, dealers are paying 102% of value. Okay, so normally they wanted to be somewhere between 95 and 98% of that total wholesale value, and now they're willing to pay 2% over the wholesale value just to be able to get their hands on the cars. That's what's important. Excuse me for screaming. But.
No, okay, got it. Yeah, because I was incredibly confused for a moment there. So their
Don't
own
feel bad.
index, yeah, it's our whole
Yeah.
audience,
Yeah, they do too.
yeah. So that index value, when you say it doesn't mean anything to you, it's not that it's meaningless. It's a reflection of used car
Of
prices.
overall used car values.
Yeah, but
Yes.
when you think back to your time in the dealership, what's more important to you and what you're kind of more trained and attuned to
is what you're paying for a vehicle in relationship to 100% of the Manheim Market Report for that week.
Gotcha, which
And
we're at
dealers,
102.
yeah, and dealers are willing to pay over that amount in order to get the cars.
And it's really interesting to mention that. Thank you for bringing that up, because I was looking at on my LinkedIn, someone in the auto industry had posted the chart of the Manheim used car index values, and it's going up and up and up. And someone commented, "Oh, I thought this was a chart of the Carvana stock," and I laughed. And he was being facetious, the person that commented, and I laughed because Carvana's stock price has shot up. But what we learned a couple weeks ago when we talked to Chris, and what I've heard from other people as well, is that Carvana is the one that's paying like 102% for a lot of cars.
Yes.
So it's really a strange and kind of surreal time to think that you're paying more than wholesale for used cars, and then your stock price as a company, as a corporation, is going up too. It seems a little crazy.
Well, everything to me seems a little crazy. I mean, you hear me say it week after week, but I look. You look at what the stock market's doing. You look at, and you always remind me that the stock market is a forward-looking thing. They're looking months,
Years,
years,
decades, maybe.
decades. And I don't know. I look months ahead, and I see where government programs are about to end that are helping to keep a lot of Americans afloat. Now, yes, there's rumors that, well, everybody's going to get together and there's going to be another package to help keep Americans afloat. But at a certain point, that all ends, and at a certain point, there's 30 million or 40 million or however many million people that were in that were employed and are no longer employed. So how you can look ahead and go, well, I don't know, what are we going to do with these $40 million? But you just keep buying all those stocks. I don't know how those two things equate. And maybe it's because, I'm a guy with barely a high school education, and I went to the University of Hard Knocks, and I just, I lived my life. But it just, certain things don't seem to make sense to me. And that's one of them. I don't see how, like, for instance, the stock market is a reflection of the average person in America.
It's not. No, it's not.
Okay, so then why is so much attention paid to that?
To the stock market?
Yeah,
because
okay.
It reflects the value of trillions of dollars in assets.
Of somebody's money, but not the average person.
No, I don't think it's somebody's money. It's assets.
Okay.
These corporations represent, assets and appreciating assets, unlike vehicles. And I think one of the things that we struggle with is this concept that the Federal Reserve can print money. And that's what they've been doing.
Well, I don't struggle with it. They do it. There's nothing to struggle with.
And so I think a lot of what we've seen in the stock market, personally, that's my opinion. No one watches this for our opinions on the stock market. So if you've tuned out, totally understood. But if you're printing money, in an effort to get people to spend money, then they're going to spend that money. And a lot of savvy people, a lot of smart people have recognized that if you can prop something up enough, you're going to prop it up. You're going to make some money. You're going to go up and to the right on the chart until the house of cards kind of falls down.
Until my proverbial the shit hits the fan.
Which is seemingly inevitable. And I think...
Okay.
Definitely, yeah.
Well, then isn't that long-term thinking? Isn't that forward thinking that eventually...
No, I don't disagree, but I think that a lot of people see an opportunity in the short term to make money.
Okay, so what is the stock market? Is it that long-term view, or is it a combination of the two? Anyway, let's get back to the damn cars. So what's happened?
Forbearance, man.
Forbearance. And thank you for forbearing with us for this.
I'm interested if people like two average Joes take on the stock market.
Two knuckleheads talking about shit they don't know anything about. But
that's our channel.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. It's Seinfeld, but talking about cars. So Forbearance has been in effect for many of the large lending institutions
Since like mid-March.
Since mid-March. And many said, okay, we're going to go 90 days. And if you can't make your payments, we understand and we won't hold it against you. And after 90 days, then we want you to start paying again. And some have extended it beyond that. But there were people that weren't paying prior to that had already started to fall into a default status on their car loans. And so that there were cars that were probably ready to be repossessed because people weren't making their payments, that those repossessions were delayed because of what had transpired. So those cars eventually that were meant to come into the used car market
Through either repossession or even another example would be lease return.
yes,
And, yeah.
or those cars will ultimately make it into the used car market, along with an even greater number of repossessions once the forbearance programs are done away with, because it's going to come down to people are going to choose to either have a roof over their head. They're going to have to make a choice, a roof over your head or a car. Now, and I know some people choose the car because they figure, well, shit, you can take it anywhere.
Yeah, you can't drive the house.
You can't drive the house. You're not driving your house to work, although today you're working from your home, but you can't drive the house to work. I don't know how much sense it's going to make for people to live in a car.
No.
So I'm thinking once people have to make a real choice between a car, food, and shelter, well, 2 out of the 3 are more important, and that would be food and shelter. So given a choice, people are going to stop making their car payments. And the more people that stop making their car payments, the more banks are going to end up repossessing cars. So there'll be more repossessions this year, they anticipate, than there was like last year.
No, definitely.
So,
where do repossessed cars go? Do they go straight to like the Manheim auctions and things like that? Or
they go,
can you buy directly from a lender? Like, is that an option as a consumer?
I have seen people do voluntary repossessions where they just say, I can't afford this anymore, and they make arrangements with the bank to bring the car back. They drop it off at the dealership, and then we at the dealership would try and buy it, and the bank would say no, because apparently, I'm assuming this is the way it works, they have to take the car to the auction and get whatever they can at the auction, and then that allows them to be able to sue the defaulting consumer for the deficiency balance, the difference between what they sold it for at the auction and what was still owed.
Oh, interesting, because that makes sense.
So it has to be a competitive bidding situation as opposed to the dealer saying, "Hey, we'll take it."
Yeah.
So they don't let the dealer just buy it.
So I doubt you can probably, as a consumer, then.
No, you cannot. So that's why they go to the sale.
That makes sense.
So there has to be competitive bidding on the vehicle so that it decreases the amount of the deficiency balance on the defaulting customer's behalf that they're going to get sued for.
I get that.
Yeah.
That makes sense. And then the off-lease or the lease return vehicles, those go back to the captive lender who then auctions them out to usually in-network, in dealership.
Well, what more and more of the luxury brands are doing is they are requiring the dealers to buy a rather large percentage of those lease returns. And the reason they're doing that is because they're artificially inflating the residual values in order to keep the payments down. And they don't want to take such a huge loss at the end of the lease, so they force the dealers to buy the vast majority of them. And by the vast majority, it's like you got to buy 90% of them or 85% of them. And so the ones that have been damaged or that there's really issues with, those are the ones that the dealers will pass on, or if the miles are way too high, those are the ones that they get a mulligan on. They get to pass on those. But the others, they're forced to take.
I'm glad that you mentioned that because I was reading an article, and I'll link it in the description below, about Ford Motor Credits.
I've heard of them.
Yeah, their asset-backed securities division, talking about how they've allocated extra money, billions of dollars, in different places on their balance sheet, essentially as protection for their investors, because they're now aware that the residual values that they set were way too high relative to what's going to come
Yes.
to fruition.
Yes.
And so you're starting to see that these captive lenders are recognizing that, and they've obviously already had. If when you were still in the dealership, they were forcing you to buy cars, it's just becoming even more apparent.
Well, it was much more so in the luxury brands because a greater or higher percentage of cars that are sold in luxury brands are actually leased.
Definitely,
So where it might be 30% or 25 or 30% of say Nissans or Fords are leased, it might be 55 or 65% of your luxury brands that are leased.
Yeah,
well,
definitely.
yeah. Well, guess who owns those? The captive lender, and that means ultimately BMW or Lexus or Mercedes-Benz, and so they had to figure out ways to share that risk, and the way they came up with was, well, we're sharing it with the dealers. So
It's great.
that's how it's done.
All right, well, I think we've dotted our I's, crossed our T's, and
Exhausted this topic for today for the time being.
yeah, I mean, I'm going to go buy Carvana stock.
I think you should, and since you're such a forward-thinking guy, yeah.
No, I am not. Personally, I do not think Carvana is the future, but that's just me. I think that eventually dealerships come around and like the dealership model works. So I'm going to go buy some Penske Automotive Group.
I think you should. That's it's fluctuated quite a bit, but over Rogers' ownership, it has always performed well.
Yeah, full discretion. I've actually owned PAG for a couple of years, and it's done me well. So,
Yes,
anyway,
yes.
for whatever that's worth.
Roger did me well.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I think
Whatever.
Roger paid for my my bar mitzvah back in the day.
Well, and your braces, I'm pretty sure.
All right, thanks, Ted.
Anytime. Let's talk Penske again next time.